Hey everyone, welcome back to SHIVASTRA. In this video, we are going to read all the 6 poems of BEGC 111 of Block 2. So without wasting time, let's begin with the poem An Introduction by Kamala Das, and later we will move on to the next one, A Hot Noon in Malabar by Kamala Das. Third, Her Dream by Indira Sant. Fourth, Don't Wash by Lakshmi Kannan. Fifth, I Measure Every Grief I Meet by Emily Dickinson. And her second poem, I Heard a Buzz When I Did by Emily Dickinson. Fifth, Neither a Shadow Nor a Reflection by Naseem Shafai. And the sixth one and last one, Solitude for the Girl Child by Naseem Shafai. Okay, so let's move on to the first one and then an introduction. The poem An Introduction was written by Kamala Das and was first published in the year 1965 in her famous poetry collection Summer in Calcutta. This poem is one of her most important and powerful works. Kamala Das was a famous Indian poet who wrote honestly about her personal life, emotion, and identity. She wrote in both English and Malayalam. In this poem, she talked about herself, her childhood, her language, her body, and her experience as a woman in Indian society. The poem shows how society tries to control women, what they should speak, what language they should use, how they should behave, and how they should live. Kamala Das questions all these rules. She wants the freedom to speak and live in her own way. An introduction is written in free verse, which means it does not follow any fixed rhyme or rhythm. The language is simple but very emotional and powerful. Through this poem, Kamala Das tells her reader, "Let me be myself." So here are the stanza by stanza, and then there is a overall summary of this. You have to read it by your own. This is very long. Okay, so let me tell you the overall summary. The poem An Introduction by Kamala Das is a confessional and autobiographical poem. It talks about her identity as a woman, as a writer, as an Indian. She shares her personal experience and problems she faced as a girl, a growing woman, and a poet in a male dominated society. At the beginning of the poem, Kamala Das says that she doesn't understand politics, but she knows the name of powerful people like Nehru. This shows that even if she is not involved in politics, she is aware of what is happening in the country. She is proudly said that she is Indian, brown skinned, and born in Malabar, Kerala. She knows 3 languages written in two and three, dreams in one. This shows her rich cultural background and love for language. Next, she talks about language and freedom of expression. People told her not to write in English because it is not her mother tongue. But Kamala Das questioned this. She asked why others should tell her what language to speak or write in. She said the language she speaks in her own, even if it is a mix of Indian and English, and even if it sounds strange, it is honest, emotional, and comes straight from her heart. She compares it to her crow's cow or lion's roar. It is natural to her. She then talks about her childhood and growing up. She remembers being a child and how people told her she had grown up when her body started changing. This shows how girls are made to feel conscious and uncomfortable when they grown up. Society judges them based on their body and expects them to act like women before they are ready. Kamala Das also talked about her experience with love and relationship. She says she did not understand love, but still wanted affection. This line shows her innocence and confusion. Society pushed her into adulthood and expected her to behave in certain way just because she was growing up. Through this poem, Kamala Das shows the struggle of being a woman in Indian society. She is not allowed to choose her own language, express herself freely, or grow at her own pace. People around her, like critic, family, and relative, keep telling her what to do and how to behave. But she wants to be free, independent, and honest. She wants the right to express herself in her own way, through her own voice. So let's talk about a final thought. An Introduction is a very bold and personal poem. Kamala Das speaks for herself and all women who are not allowed to speak freely. She fights against the rules made by society for women and shows the importance of self-expression, language, identity, and freedom. Her voice in the poem is powerful, emotional, and honest. So here's the most important question. Comment on Kamala Das as an autobiographical poet, so you can check it. Okay. Now let's move on to the next poem, which is A Hot Noon in Malabar by Kamala Das. So, the poem A Hot Noon in Malabar was written by Kamala Das, a famous Indian English poet, known for writing about personal feeling, women experience, and identity. This poem was published in the year 1965. In this poem, Kamala Das remembered the hot afternoon of her childhood spent in her ancestral home in Malabar, Kerala. She no longer living there, but her memories of that place are still fresh and alive in her heart. The poem is full of nostalgia, which means the feeling of missing the past or a special place. Kamala described the busy and noisy village life during the noon. She talked about beggars, fortune teller, tribal women, and bangle seller who used to come during the afternoon. Even though the noon is hot and dusty, it is full of life, movement, and color. She also talked about strangers who appear and look inside home with tired, sun-filled eyes. The poet compared her present situation with her past. Now she lives far away from Malabar and feels lonely, sad, and disconnected. She misses the wideness, energy, and raw beauty of Malabar. The poem shows her deep love for her hometown and her pain of being separated from it. So, here are the stanza. You can read it. Let me tell you the overall summary. Here's the introduction, okay? And so, let's begin. It is written by Kamala Das, one of the most famous Indian women poet. In this poem, she remembered the hot afternoon in her childhood home in Malabar. She described the scene from her memory in a very emotional and detailed way. The poet is not physically in Malabar anymore, but in her mind, she is still deeply connected to that place. The poem starts with a description of a noontime in Malabar. It is very hot, the street and house full of noise and activity. She remembered beggars with sad voice, fortune teller with cage parrot, an old cart, and Kurava girls like a tribal woman who read palms. She described how these people who live difficult life walk the long distance under the sun and their feet become cracked from the rough roads. She also remembered bangle seller who come with red, green, and blue bangle. These bangle are beautiful but covered with dust from their long journey. The women who sell or read fortunes have old tired eye but sweet musical voices. Kamala Das make these scenes come alive with her beautiful and simple language. She then shifted her focus to a stranger who come and look inside the house from the outside. Their eyes are full of sunlight and mistrust. They do not speak much, but when they do, their voices sound wild, like voices from the jungle. The poet called this noon a time for wild man, wild thought, wild love. This showed the raw, untamed energy of the place and the people around it. Throughout the poem, Kamala Das feels a deep pain. She is far away from her home in Malabar, and the separation make her feel empty and restless. She remember even the dust and the heat with love for her. Malabar is not just a place, it is a feeling, memory, and a part of her soul. Conclusion: the poem shows Kamala Das' deep emotional bond with her childhood home in Malabar, even though she is far away. She remembered every detail: the people, the heat, the dust, and the noise. The poem is full of nostalgia, missing home, and love for her past. A heart known in Malabar is more than a memory. It is a beautiful picture of the place full of life, struggle, tradition, and love. Through this poem, Kamala Das reminds us that our roots, our home, and our childhood never leave us. They live in our heart forever, even when we are far away. And the central idea of the poem, you can read it by your own because this appeared in a previous year question. Otherwise, you don't need to remember, just write the summary I told you above, okay? Next poem is Her Dream by Indira Sant. The poem Her Dream is written by Indira Sant, a well-known Indian poet. She is known for writing about the inner world of women, their feelings, struggle, dream, and its disappointment. This poem talks about the unspoken dream and emotions of widow. It shows how society often does not allow widows to live freely or happily. The woman in the poem has very simple wishes in life like tasty food, neat clothes, or peaceful home. She also wants to enjoy life by watching plays, laughing, and spending time with her loved one, but sadly she never gets the chance to live her dream. The poem is emotional and heart-touching. It shows the pain, loneliness, and quiet sacrifice of many Indian women, especially those who lost their husband at a young age. Stanza 1, stanza 2, and stanza 3. There are only 3 stanzas, and now let me read you a summary. So basically it is an introduction. Now, at the beginning of the poem, the woman's dream is described as being similar to the dream of other women. She does not wish for luxury or big thing. She simply wants a full plate of tasty food, a nicely arranged home, neatly ironed clothes, and plans for the morning and evening. These are basic needs and small joys, but for a poor or busy woman, even these can be difficult to get. She also dreams of enjoying her life by going to plays and concerts and having the best seat, which shows that she wants some fun, art, and beauty in her life. Hey, wait, एक minute. I'm so sorry. Now let's begin. Continue from the even though she doesn't have much money, she wants to find happiness in a small thing. She dream of a life filled with laughter, talking, teasing, and love. It is a world of warm relationship and joy, something every person, especially every woman, wish for. But the most painful part of the poem come at the end. The poet said that the woman woke up before the dream began. This means she never got the chance to live her dream. Real life came in between. Maybe she had to do household work, raise children, or face poverty. Because of her responsibilities, she could never rest or dream again. Her life became full of duties and her personal wishes were forgotten. The poem showed the reality of many Indian women's life. They may have dreams, but they are never allowed to live for themselves. Their dreams are considered less important than family duty, so their wishes stay only in their mind, never becoming real. So basically, the conclusion gives a powerful message in very few words. It speaks for millions of women who live quietly with a dream buried inside. Their poem reminds that even a small dream matter and every woman deserves the chance to live a life of joy, peace, and respect. Sant uses simple word but deep feeling to show how society often ignores women's dreams. This poem makes us think about the silent sacrifice women make every day and the need to value their hopes too. Okay, so now let's move on to the fourth poem, which is Don't Wash by Lakshmi Kannan. The poem Don't Wash is written by Lakshmi Kannan, a well known Indian woman poet and writer. The poem was written in the year 2004. It is about Rasundra Devi, the first Indian woman to write an autobiography in Bengali called Amar Jiban, My Life. Amar Jiban, right, My Life, in the 19th century. In those days, women were not allowed to read or write, but Sundari Devi was very brave. She taught herself to read or write in secret while working in a kitchen. She used the dark kitchen wall as a blackboard and learned letters by scratching them with her finger. She also secretly tore pages from religious books to practice reading. Lakshmi Kannan's poem is tribute to Sundara Devi's courage and love for learning. The poet tells her not to wash the kitchen wall before those walls hold her secret letter, her dream, and her journey of learning. The poem is full of powerful images like flying letter, magical scribble, secret code. It shows even a simple kitchen wall can become a symbol of a woman's strength and freedom. Here is the stanza by stanza explanation too. You can read it by your own. And here's the summary, conclusion, and final thought. So basically, the poem Don't Wash is written by Lakshmi Kannan, known as a tribute to Rasundra Devi, the first Indian woman to write her autobiography Amar Jeevan. Rasundra lived in 19th century at a time when women were not allowed to read or write, but she was brave and strong. She secretly learned to read and write inside her kitchen while doing housework. This poem celebrates her hidden strength and love for learning. At the beginning of the poem, the poet requests Sundari not to wash the dark black kitchen wall. These walls may look dirty and sooty, but they are special. Why? Because she had scratched letter Akshar on those walls while secretly trying to learn the alphabet. These letters are now full of life, full of memory, and full of meaning. That's why the poet say, "Don't wash them." The poet tells how Rasundri matched the sound she heard with the letter she wrote on the wall. She learned slowly, carefully, and in secret. Even when she was cooking, peeling, cutting, or stirring food, her mind was learning. The letters were not dead. They were alive like birds taking wings, flying from the wall to pages and back to her mind. She even tore a page from her son's book, Chaitanya Bhagavat, to read when no one was looking. The act of secretly reading showed her strong desire to gain knowledge. She didn't need books, paper, or pen. Her kitchen wall became her classroom, and the dark suit became her ink. The poem called her scribble magical because they open up a new world for her, the world of reading, writing, and thinking. The final line described the mark, line, dot, curve as a secret code that led her to a whole new world. These letters were symbol of her freedom and courage. Through them, she entered a new life where she is just a wife and mother, but also a reader, writer, and thinker. So, Conclusion is a beautiful and respectful poem about how one's woman courage to learn became an inspiration for many. It shows that even without books or pen, learning is possible when there is a strong willpower. Sundari Devi used her kitchen wall as a tool for learning, and that small act changed her life. Final thought is Lakshmi Kannan poem reminds us that education is a form of freedom and power. Women like Rasundari had to fight silently for their right to read and write. Today, we should remember their struggle and value the education we have. This poem teaches us to respect knowledge, fight against limits, and believe in the power of word, even when written in a secret on a kitchen wall. And here are the important questions, central idea of the Don't Wash poem. So you can read it And here's the conclusion. So now this poem is also ended. Okay. Now let's move on to the next poem by I Heard a Buzz When I Did by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson was a famous American poet. She wrote this poem around the year 1862. It was published after her death and is known as poem number 465 in her collected work. Emily Dickinson lived in a quiet and private life in the 1800s. She wrote more than 1700 poems, many of which talk about death, grief, the soul, the nature, and emotion. She often used simple language but deep idea. In this poem, she imagined the exact moment of death from the point of view of a dying person. In this poem, the speaker said that just before she died, she heard the buzzing of a fly. The room was silent, people were standing around her, and everyone was waiting for a peaceful and holy moment. But instead of meeting God or seeing light, the speaker is interrupted by the fly. This small and disturbing detail make the poem very different from traditional poem about the death. Dickinson showed that death may not be grand or peaceful, it can be ordinary, strange, or even disappointing. The poem ends with the speaker losing her sight and entering darkness, which may seem she died without any divine experience. Here the stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, stanza 4. Yes, there are only 4 stanzas. I'm not gonna read it overall summary. You can read it by own because this video is gonna be too long, okay? And Emily Dickinson first poem I measure every grief I made because Emily Dickinson has 2 poems in this chapter, right? So, introduction, the poem I measure every grief I meet was written by the famous American poet Emily Dickinson around the year 1862. Emily Dickinson was born in 1830 and died in 1886. She lived most of her life in isolation and wrote deeply personal poems about death, pain, love, nature, and the soul. Most of her poems were published after her death. This poem is one of her most emotional and thoughtful works. It is included in her collected poem as a poem number 561. In this poem, Emily Dickinson talks about grief and suffering. She watches people around her and compares their sorrow with her own. She tries to understand how people carry pain, whether it is a big or small, now or old. She also share her own feeling and sadness that have stayed with her for so long time. Dickinson said that people suffer in different ways not only because of death but also because of poverty, loneliness, and emotional pain. She shows that grief is a part of everyone's life, but many people hide it behind fake smile. Even though she cannot fully understand everyone's pain, she finds a small comfort in knowing what is she not alone in her suffering. The poem is calm and thoughtful, but it also feels like very real and honest. So the number stanza number 1 many times appear in a previous year question. So please, I request you all to please read the summary and the line by line. I also provide you line by line meaning, so you can read it by your own, okay? Because tomorrow is your exam, so wish you best of luck. So and there is the overall summary of this poem too. At the beginning of the poem, the poet says she watches other people who are sad. She measures every grief she sees, meaning she tries to see how big or small it is. She carefully observes them and wonders, is their pain like her? Is it lighter or heavier? Has it just started? Or have they been carrying it for many years? Then she thinks about her own sorrow. She says that her grief feels so old that can't even remember when it began. It is a pain that has lived inside her for a very long time. She also asks, does it hurt other people just to live? Do they also struggle every day to go on with life? If given a choice, would they choose death instead of living with this pain? The poet continues by observing that some people still manage to smile after years of pain, but their smile is not bright or real. It is weak, like a light from a lamp that is almost out of oil. It's more like a fake smile just to hide their suffering. She wonders if time, even many years, can truly heal the pain, or maybe even after so much time, the pain stays inside people like a deep wound. Emily Dickinson also lists different type of grief. She said that death is not only cause of sadness. People can feel sorrow due to poverty, loneliness, exile, despair, or even being separated from loved one. Everyone has different kind of pain, and even if she can't understand each kind perfectly, she feels comforted to know she is not the only one who suffer. The poem ends with a religious image. She compared people's pain to cross that Jesus carried, meaning that everyone carries some burden in life. She feels a strange connection with those who are silently carrying pain similar to her own. Conclusion is Emily Dickinson's poem beautifully show her how universal grief is. Everyone has their own sadness, but the poem also reminds us that we are not alone in our pain, others suffer too, and just knowing this can bring a small comfort to the heart. And the final thought is I measure every grief I meet is not just about sadness, it is about connection, empathy, and understanding other. Dickinson showed that while pain is personal, it also brings us together as human beings. Her words touch the soul because they are honest, quiet, and full of truth. Okay, now let's move on to the next poem. Next last two poem. Neither a Shadow nor a Reflection by Nasim Shafii. It is a powerful and emotional poem written by Nasim Shafii, a well-known Kashmiri woman poet. She writes in the Kashmiri language and is famous for expressing the inner life, pain, and strength of women in her poem. This poem was first published in English translation around the year 2011, though it was written earlier in Kashmiri. In this poem, the speaker, a woman, talks about loss, longing, and identity. She remembered how much she loved someone, waited for them, and gave everything for their happiness. She compared herself to famous women from Kashmir culture like Lala and Haba Khatun to show how deeply and purely she loved. But now she wants to be seen who she really is, not just a shadow or reflection, but a real person with her own emotion and identity. This poem is fits beautifully in the women's writing course because it speaks about the silent pain and emotional strength of a woman. It shows how many women in society are forgotten or left behind. Even when they love with full heart, the poet uses simple but touching language to express a woman's deep feeling and need for respect. And here is the stanza line by line meaning. Okay, stanza 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there are only seven stanzas. Now let me talk to you about the overall summary. So basically, it is a deeply emotional and touching poem. It is written from the point of view of a woman who feels pain, longing, and sadness because her beloved or someone she truly cared for left her. The poem expresses her heartache, memories, and a desire to be respected and accepted as a real person, not just someone whose presence is ignored like a shadow or reflection. So, in the beginning of the poem, the woman said that the person has come back, silently standing at the door. He said nothing, but his presence brings back many emotions. She wishes she had the right words to help him speak. She wants to hear the feeling he has hidden inside for so long. His silence is confusing, but his eyes are full of emotion and which she can feel. She remembered how much she waited for him. She hoped that he would return like the spring breeze, bring happiness back into her life. She gave him many roles in her heart and took on many forms herself, just to make him feel loved. She compared herself to famous Kashmiri poets like Lala and Haba Khatun, who are known for their love and devotion. Just like them, she also gave everything her time, emotion, and prayer for him. The speaker asked him why he left her, why attracted him away from her. She reminded him of all the promise, love, song, and even fast she kept for him. She loved him with full faith and waited every night while praying for him, but he still left her. She even accepted that she may feel anger or sadness, but that doesn't mean she deserved to be punished or forgotten. At the end of the poem, the speaker gave him one last chance. She said that if he knew understand her pain, he should come back honestly. He should realize his mistake and come to her as a true and honest partner. Like Adam, who was with Eve, she doesn't want to be seen as a shadow or reflection anymore. She wants to be recognized as a real person with a real feeling, love, and identity. Here is the conclusion. In this poem, Naseem Shafii talks about the pain of being forgotten, ignored, and left behind. The poem is not just about romantic love, it also represents the struggle of many women who give everything but are not valued. The poet uses emotional language and comparison to spiritual and poetic women of Kashmir to show that women are strong, loving, and worthy of respect. The final message is clear. A woman is not just a shadow reflection, she is real, powerful, and deserves to be seen and loved truly. The poem is important because it gave voice to many women who are not heard. It talks about love, hurt, waiting, sacrifice, and identity, all from a woman's point of view. In very soft word, it gives a strong message. A woman is not just someone in the background. She is real and she matters. Now, here's the critical analysis of this poem, which appears in the previous year question paper. It is very important, so please remember and revise it. Next and last poem over. Solitude for the Girl Child, written by the Naseem Shafii, a famous Kashmiri poet. She was born in 1953 in Srinagar, Kashmir. Naseem Shafii writes poetry in the Kashmiri language. Her poems mostly talk about the life of women, emotion, and problem in the society, especially in Kashmir. She became very famous for writing about her inner feeling of women and the pain of conflict in simple and emotional words. The poem was originally written in Kashmiri and later translated into English by G.L. Labru. In this poem, the poet talks about a girl child and how she should be treated with love, softness, and care. It shows a mother's deep love and fear for her daughter's future. The poet describes how peaceful and innocent the girl is while sleeping and how the mother is worried about what will happen when the girl grow up and leave home. The poem expresses the emotional bond between a mother and daughter and also reflects the worries of parents in today's world. The title Solitude for the Girl Child shows that the girl is alone and need protection. The poem was written during a time when the social and political condition in Kashmir was very disturbed, especially in the 1990s and early 2000s. Nasim Shafi poetry comes from this background of conflict and fear, which make her work even more powerful and real. Here the stanza 1, 2, 3, yeah, only 3 stanza. Let me read you a overall summary. The poem Solitude for the Girl Child by Nasim Safi is a very emotional and gentle poem. It talks about love, care, and fear that parents, especially mother, feel for their daughter. The poem is written in a soft and caring tone. It shows how delicate and innocent a girl child is and how she should be treated with a great kindness. In the beginning of the poem, the speaker, most like a mother, is asking someone to wake up the sleeping girl child very gently. She said not to use a loud voice because loudness can disturb or frighten the little girl. The girl is sleeping peacefully with her eyes half open. She looks so innocent and beautiful that the speaker feels afraid, as if this pure beauty can be easily harmed or lost. This shows the deep protective love of a mother. In the next part of the poem, the speaker called the daughter the snuggling case of her bosom. This means the daughter is very close to her heart. She is also described as the pride of her father, comparing her to the titled calf, which means honor and respect. The poet compared the girl child to a houri of paradise, which means a heavenly and pure being. But then the poet expressed a fear one day the daughter will leave the house, and once she leaves, she may never return. This line reflects the pain and sadness many parents feel when their daughter get married or move far away. In the final part of the poem, the speaker is full of worry. She thinks about the future when the daughter will live in a distant place. The speaker does not know what kind of people will be there. What will they treat her with the same love and care? Will they speak to her softly and wake her gently, just like the speaker does now? Or will they disturb her peace and make her suffer? The parts show the fear and the helplessness of a parent who cannot protect their daughter forever. So here's the conclusion. The poem is a beautiful and emotional tribute to the girl child. It shows the love, purity, and innocence of daughter. It also expresses the fear, anxiety, and sadness of her parents who know that one day their daughter will have to face the world alone. The poet used soft and simple language to describe deep feeling. The girl child is seen not just as a daughter but as a precious gift who bring joy to her parent but also make them worried because the world is not always kind. Through this poem, Nasim Shafi makes us think about how we treat girls in society. Girls should be loved, protected, and treated with respect, both at home and outside. The poem leaves us with a soft and emotional feeling, reminding us of the gentle strength and beauty of every girl child. And here is the critical analysis of this poem. You can read it by your own, and here's the conclusion of this. So here we have done all the 6 poem of the block 2 in BEGC 111 code. I hope you all enjoy this video and it is very helpful for your exams. So please thank you for watching this, and if you like this video then please like and share your comments below. And yes, all the best, all the very 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 best for your exams tomorrow. Okay, see you in the next video or in the next course code. Thank you very much. Har Har Mahadev.